the gospel, news, and entertainment.
Hello, a very good afternoon. Welcome to the MBN TV. It's a weekend where we'll bring you all the major stories. We review all the stories that has made headline throughout the week from Monday through to Friday and bring you a top-up on the Saturday. My name is Al Samuels. The news review is also live across all our social media handle on MBN 360. And I want to say a very good afternoon and good afternoon to the team for bringing us up to speed with the lineup. Now the details of the stories. We start from a speech delivered on behalf of the president highlighting unity, faith, and national leadership following a near-fatal incident.
A message delivered on behalf of the president, John Dramani Mahama, has commended the strength and resilience of His Royal Majesty King Takite Kochu II during a Thanksgiving service held in Accra after the Garmanche survived a recent accident in the Oti region. The solemn yet celebratory service took place at the Holy Trinity Cathedral on Sunday, April 26, 2026, drawing traditional leaders, government officials, clergy, and members of the Ga state. The Garmanche was involved in the accident while returning from an official visit to the northern region, where he had paid a courtesy call on the overlord of Dagbon, Yana Abukari II. In the speech, the president described the survival of the Garmanche as a testament to divine grace and protection, emphasizing the importance of gratitude and faith in times of adversity.
The president, John Dramani Mahama, has asked me to speak directly to you, Niga, from his heart to yours. Do not be discouraged. God is not finished with you. Though your best days of leadership are still ahead of you. The best days of your kingship are still ahead of you. Isaiah 40:31 promises that those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength and mount up with wings as eagles. And Joshua 1 commands, be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God is with you. Wherever you go, Niga, these promises are yours this afternoon. Forge on, move ahead, be steady and focused, Niga. Your counsel is still needed. Ghana walks with you and beside you. Ghana will always walk beside you. On behalf of His Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama, the First Lady, the government, and all the people of the Republic of Ghana, we say, Ni, welcome. We are grateful to God, and we will sing a new song today. We will celebrate your life today and always.
The statement further underscored the Garmanche's role in fostering unity and cultural identity, not only within the Ga state, but across Ghana, especially through engagements with other traditional authorities, such as the Dagbon Kingdom. The Thanksgiving service was marked by prayers, hymns, and reflections, with clergy calling for continued peace, unity, and protection for national leaders. Dignitaries present expressed relief at the Gamanche's recovery and used the occasion to reaffirm the importance of collaboration between traditional institutions and the state.
Away from the Thanksgiving service on behalf of the Gamanche, we go to the corridors of the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. Dr. Agnes Na Momolate has deepened collaboration with traditional leadership after holding high talks with the Queen Mothers Association made up of representatives from all 16 regions of Ghana.
The meeting is focused on advancing gender equality and strengthening community-led development efforts. The delegation, led by its president, Nana Otubia II, outlined the association's mandate, noting that it unites gazetted Queen Mothers nationwide to promote inclusivity, grassroots development, and greater participation in national decision-making. The group also reaffirmed its readiness to partner with the government in delivering impactful initiatives across their respective traditional areas. The association highlighted its advocacy role in supporting the passage of the Affirmative Action Act and commended the minister for her leadership. Members further called for deeper engagement and stronger representation in governance structures to enhance their contributions to national development. In response, Dr. Lati expressed appreciation for the visit and reiterated the government's commitment to inclusive growth. She stressed that sustainable development depends on the active involvement of key stakeholders, particularly traditional leaders, and noted that the ministry is implementing targeted interventions such as LEAP and the Ghana School Feeding Program. She also urged Queen Mothers to champion women's participation in the upcoming district assembly elections, describing their role as critical to achieving gender parity at local level.
Away from the gender minister meeting, the Queen Mothers, doctors at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology are raising concerns that children in Ghana continue to die from pneumonia despite the disease being preventable through routine vaccination.
The warning comes amid World Immunization Week, observed globally from April 24 to April 30, as health experts intensify calls for stronger public education and improved vaccination coverage across the country. Medical experts say vaccines that protect against pneumonia, meningitis, measles, and other life-threatening infections remain widely available and free of charge in Ghana. However, many children are still missing critical immunizations because of misinformation, delayed healthcare seeking, and practical challenges faced by families. A recent analysis cited by health professionals found that only 56.45% of children aged between 12 and 35 months are fully vaccinated, according to Ghana's national immunization schedule. The findings also revealed major disparities in vaccination coverage across regions. Dr. Sandra Kwatin Owusu, a pediatric pulmonologist and associate professor at KNUST and Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, said the low vaccination coverage continues to have devastating consequences for children and families. She explained that while some parents understand the importance of childhood immunization, others continue to delay or completely avoid vaccination due to fear, uncertainty, and false information circulating within communities. Health professionals warn that declining confidence in vaccines since the COVID-19 pandemic has contributed to reduced uptake of routine childhood immunization services in several communities.
Away from the Ashanti region, from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, we go to the floor of Parliament, where the minority in Parliament has rejected suggestion that the recent fire incident at the Akosombo substation is responsible for the ongoing power outages affecting part of the country, insisting the crisis predates the event.
At a press conference on Tuesday, April 28, the Deputy Ranking Member on Parliament's Energy Committee, Collins Adomako-Mensah, argued that the current electricity challenges commonly referred to as DUMSO began long before the 23 April incident. He stated that Ghana's power crisis, which millions of citizens have reportedly been experiencing since 25th January, cannot be attributed to any isolated fault or accident at Akosombo. Mr. Adomako-Mensah further described the April 23 incident as the latest and most dramatic symptom of what he called a deteriorating power sector. He cautioned against attributing the crisis to the Akosombo incident, arguing that doing so would misrepresent the origins of the problem. The minority also outlined a timeline of power disruptions, stating that Ghanaians had been experiencing persistent outages well before the substation fire.
Qualification. Ghana's power crisis, the DUMSO that millions of Ghanaians have been enduring since January 2025, was not caused by any accident at Akosombo. It was caused by this government. The event of 23rd April are the latest and most dramatic symptom of a power sector left to decay under the NDC's incompetent stewardship. The Mahama government must not be permitted to use this incident as a convenient alibi for a crisis that predates it by more than a year. And the NPP minority will not allow that cynical rewriting of history to pass unchallenged. Let us be unequivocal about the timeline. Long before the event of 23rd April 2026, Ghanaians across every region of this country had been enduring persistent, unannounced, and devastating power outages. ECG had been issuing relentless emergency and maintenance schedules throughout April 2026. The ECG Director General had already issued public apologies for chronic power fluctuations, causing damage to household equipment and crippling small businesses. Communities were living in darkness, not for hours, but for days. Industries were hemorrhaging losses. Cold stores were warming. Hospitals were straining on generators. That was the reality of Ghana's power sector before any incident at Akosombo.
Ghana has rejected a bilateral health deal with the U.S. A source familiar with the negotiation told Reuters that the latest stumbling block to the Trump administration's efforts to overhaul the foreign aid.
The government of President John Dramani Mahama balked attempts requiring the sharing of sensitive health data, the source said. The same issue sank talks with Zimbabwe this year and also prompted a court to suspend implementation of Kenya's deal pending the hearing of a case filed by a consumer protection group. Spokespeople for Ghana's foreign ministry and government did not respond to requests for comment. The U.S. State Department said that it has not disclosed details of bilateral negotiations. The Trump administration in September announced a new America First global health strategy that calls for poorer nations to play a bigger role in fighting HIV/AIDS, malaria, tuberculosis, and polio in their countries and eventually transition from aid to self-reliance. The U.S. has disbursed $219 million in foreign assistance to Ghana, including $96 million specifically for health for 2024, the year before the Trump administration's cuts to foreign aid, according to government's foreign assistance data. The deal that the two sides started negotiating last November would have called for $109 million in U.S. assistance for health over 5 years, the source said. It was unclear how much Ghana would have been expected to pay. Washington then set April 24 as the deadline to conclude the negotiations, and Accra decided it could not agree to what was being proposed, the source said. Ghana has communicated its position to the Trump administration, the source said.
Now we move to some education story where the Minister for Education, Haruna Idrisu, has directed the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission (GTEC) to immediately withdraw controversial letters issued on September 30th and October 1, 2025 regarding post-retirement contracts for academic senior members in the public universities.
The decision follows a high-level meeting between the minister and the leadership of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, amid growing concerns within the academic community over the implications of the directive. According to a statement signed by the minister's press secretary, Hashmin Mohammed, the move is intended to pave the way for broader consultations with key stakeholders before any final policy decision is taken. The ministry emphasized that the withdrawal is temporary and forms part of efforts to ensure that any future policy direction reflects a broad-based consensus, promotes institutional sustainability, and safeguards the long-term interest of Ghana's tertiary education sector. The statement further reaffirmed the ministry's commitment to transparency, inclusivity, and stakeholder engagement in addressing critical issues affecting higher education in the country. The development is expected to ease tensions within academia as stakeholders anticipate further dialogue on the future of post-retirement engagements in Ghana's public university.
Away from the Education Ministry, the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Honorable Dr. Agnes Namo-Molatey, has retreated government's dedication to disability inclusion after engaging with amputees during Amputees Awareness and Visibility Walk organized by Smiles of Hope in Accra.
The event formed part of the activities undertaken to mark Limb Loss and Difference Awareness Month. It brought together amputees, advocates and supporters to shed light on their experiences, endurance and continuous challenges by people living with limb loss and limb difference across the country. During the event, the participants seized the opportunity to voice out their concerns regarding challenges facing their healthcare, social protection and economic inclusion that affect them. The program also provided a platform for engagement between policymakers and the amputee community. As part of the engagement, Smiles of Hope presented a petition and policy proposals to the minister, calling for prompt and corresponding measures to be put in place to advance the well-being and inclusion of amputees in Ghana. The Minister for Gender, Agnes Namo-Molatey, acknowledged the issues they raised, which were also outlined in the petition. She described them as reflections of the daily realities faced by many people working to structure their lives after amputation. She emphasized that disability inclusion must not be limited to policy deliberations, but rather they should translate into real-world support systems that reinstate dignity, independence, and equal chance for all persons with disabilities. She stated that the partnership between the government agencies, civil society organizations, and development partners is very crucial in helping to resolve the many challenges faced by persons living with disabilities. The engagement, she stated, is part of a broader national effort to enhance inclusivity and ensure that no section of the population feels neglected. For the amputees, the presence and willingness of the minister gives them hope with a view of getting their issues resolved. She opined that adequate policies that will improve their living conditions and enhance inclusivity will be implemented to help resolve the challenges they face.
From the Gender Ministry, go to the Minister for Works and Housing and Water Resources. Honorable Kenneth Gilbert Ejay has conducted a comprehensive inspection of major storm drains project in the flood-prone areas of Accra.
He assessed the progress of engineering works aimed at mitigating the city's perennial drainage challenges during heavy downpours. Honorable Ken inspected ongoing flood control works across key parts of Accra earlier today. The progress was visible. The outlook was encouraging. At Dansoman Otojo, construction of a 1-kilometer earth drain is underway. The project is designed to channel stormwater away from surrounding communities. These include Tabora, Anya, Soutum, Santa Maria, Awushi, and parts of Malam. The drainage system will direct water straight into the ocean. He monitored the construction sites to ensure contractors maintain the required pace ahead of the peak rainy season. Honorable Ejay expressed satisfaction with the technical precision observed at selected sites where hydroengineering standards have met national requirements. During the tour, the minister observed several instances of individuals using refuse to fill critical waterways for unauthorized construction. He identified these actions as a primary cause of severe flooding in surrounding communities. According to him, the ministry has coordinated with local authorities to identify structures obstructing the natural flow of water. Honorable Ejay stated that the government is determined to remove all illegal pillars and foundations within designated zones. Legislative instruments have supported planned enforcement actions against developers who flout building regulations. The minister explained that the state intends to recover demolition costs from owners of illegal properties.
We want to build here, and then the next time they will say that government is not doing anything about flooding. But who is actually causing it? Government is doing its part. But if we also decide to keep building in waterways, then what else can government do? Anyway, we are going to come after those people building in the waterways. Very soon the rains is about to start. We won't allow what they are doing to bring flooding to the good people of Accra. So we will come after them for them to move all those structures that they are trying to put in place. And they are going to be penalized. And I also want to advise our local authorities, those that are giving the necessary permits to people for them to be doing putting these kind of pillars and putting up these structures, that we are going to fish them out and the law is going to deal with them.
From the stem warning from the Minister for Works and Housing, the Vice President of the Pediatric Society of Ghana, PSG, Dr. Emmanuel Opon, has called on government to declare illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey, a public health emergency to enable a coordinated national response.
Dr. Opon raised concerns about the growing health risks associated with environmental pollution caused by illegal mining activities, stressing that the absence of an official declaration could weaken efforts to mobilize resources and response systems. He questioned the effectiveness of national response mechanisms when public health threats are not formally recognized, noting that official declarations are critical for activating coordinated action among government institutions and stakeholders. Dr. Opon supported earlier calls by health professionals for Galamsey to be formally classified as a public health emergency, arguing that the scale and severity of its impacts demand urgent and structured intervention. He also emphasized the importance of proactive, community-based interventions, including health screening exercises in mining-affected areas.
The President, John Dramani Mahama, has called on the Volta River Authority to treat recent fire at Akosombo Dam as a turning point, urging swift modernization efforts to strengthen Ghana's energy infrastructure.
Speaking during his visit to assess the damage and ongoing recovery works at Akosombo on April 30th, Mahama expressed sympathy over the incident but praised the technical team for their swift response in restoring power generation. President Mahama described the fire as an unfortunate but transformative moment, given the age of the facility. This is an act of God, because who would have expected that a control room that has been there since 1964 would experience this kind of fire, he said. He added that the incident presents a chance to rebuild and upgrade infrastructure at the Akosombo planet. They say diversity is an opportunity. Now that this has happened, it allows us to replace it with a more modern control room that will serve these plants for generations to come, he noted.
We heard about the sad event, the fire outbreak in your control room, and of course, Ghanaians have felt the impact of what happened. You worked hard, but it's not surprising because VRA has been one of them. So I'm not surprised that you have the kind of quality of human resource to be able to ameliorate what happened. And so when I heard that, engineers say they're going to find a way of bringing it back on, I wasn't surprised because I know VRA has some of the best personnel you can ever get anywhere in the world. So I want to thank you for the sacrifice. This is an act of God. I mean, who would have expected that the control room would develop this kind of fire? And of course, I hear it's been there since 1964.
The president also praised engineers of the Volta River Authority for their commitment and professionalism during an inspection of the Akosombo switch yard, heightening critical role in maintaining national power stability.
He expressed confidence in the capacity of state-owned utility, describing it as one of Ghana's best managed institutions. President Mahama added that he was encouraged by reports that engineers were already making progress in restoring operations at the plant. The president further suggested that the incident, though unfortunate, presents an opportunity to modernize infrastructures at Akosombo facility, some parts of which date to 1964. He also
with the remaining 2 turbines also coming back on. So I want to thank you very much for what you've done, and we encourage you to continue to work. VRA will continue to be one of the foremost state-owned enterprises, and Gridco and VRA, both of you, you are among the foremost twins of the same mother.
Away from the energy sector, Ghana has launched a new student entrepreneurship initiative aimed at empowering young people with practical skills, funding access, and mentorship to stimulate job creation and also long-term economic growth.
Speaking at the launch, the Vice President highlighted the remarkable enthusiasm and ambition demonstrated by Ghana's youth, noting that the initiative was inspired by overwhelming response from students eager to take charge of their futures. According to her, the program reveals not only the scale of demand for entrepreneurial opportunities, but also the readiness of young people to act, innovate, and assume responsibility for their economic destinies. The initiative forms part of government's broader youth development and empowerment agenda, with a particular focus on tackling unemployment by nurturing entrepreneurial thinking at an early age. It is designed to provide a structured pathway for students across universities, technical institutions, and colleges of education, enabling them to transform ideas into sustainable businesses. She also pointed to the role of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program in demonstrating that entrepreneurship development does not have to wait until after graduation or the completion of national service. The launch event also served as a moment of recognition for the first cohort of beneficiaries who were commended for their dedication and hard work. The Vice President expressed confidence in their potential to deliver outstanding results and contribute to Ghana's economic transformation.
The SEED program aims to do so by providing a structured pathway for students across our universities, technical institutions, colleges of education, and many others to transform ideas into sustainable businesses. It combines training, mentorship, incubation, and access to funding into a single integrated framework. It is designed to be practical and, more importantly, scalable. We have all learned by now that opportunity is not only found in employment, but also in the ability to create same. Let our students remember that Ghana needs more job creators, innovators, and bold risk-taking thinkers. SEED is an opportunity that I encourage all of you to take very, very seriously.
Away from that, a member of parliament for Korle Klottey, Zenato Agyeman-Rawlings, has been elected as the second vice president of the Pan-African Parliament, marking a significant milestone for Ghana in the continental governance. Ghana's representation on the continental stage has been strengthened following the election of Zenato Agyeman-Rawlings to a top leadership position in the Pan-African Parliament. The election took place during proceedings of the Pan-African Parliament, where lawmakers from across Africa voted to fill key leadership roles within the institution. Zenato Rawlings, who also serves as a member of parliament for Korle Klottey, was elected as the second vice president, a position that places her among the senior leadership of the continental legislative body. Her election is being viewed as a recognition of her growing influence in the regional politics and her contribution to parliamentary work on governance, health and development issues. Colleagues within the Pan-African Parliament have welcomed her appointment, expressing confidence in her ability to contribute to strengthening legislative cooperation across African nations. In Ghana, the development has sparked national interest, with political observers describing it as a boost for the country's diplomatic and legislative presence on the African continent. The Pan-African Parliament continues to serve as a key platform for promoting unity, integration, and shared democratic value among African states. And congratulations to the Member of Parliament for Korle Klottey constituency. The West African Examination Council (WAEC) has announced strict measures barring teachers found complicit in examination malpractice as part of efforts to protect the integrity of a nationwide assessment. The West African Examination Council has intensified its fight against examination malpractice with a new directive targeting teachers found aiding or abating irregularities during exams. According to the council, any teacher identified as being involved in cheating, leakage of examination materials, or assisting candidates unlawfully will be banned from participating in future examination activities. WAEC says the decision is part of a broader reforms aimed at restoring credibility to the country's examination system and ensuring that certificates reflect genuine academic achievement. The council has raised concerns over reoccurring cases of malpractice, particularly during major national examinations, which it says undermine the public trust in the education system. Education stakeholders have largely welcomed the move, describing it as a necessary step to protect the integrity of assessment and safeguard the future of students. However, some have also called for fair investigation and due process to ensure innocent teachers are not wrongly implicated. WAEC has assured that monitoring mechanisms will be strengthened, including tighter invigilation, increased surveillance, and collaboration with security agencies during examination period. The council maintains that credibility of examinations must be preserved at all costs to maintain standard within Ghana's education system and across the West African sub-region. The President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, has confirmed that the Akosombo hydroelectric dam is now fully operational, with all 6 turbines successfully restored by engineers. Ghana's power sector have received a major boost following the full restoration of operations at Akosombo hydroelectric dam. The President, John Dramani Mahama, announced that engineers have successfully brought all 6 turbines back online, restoring the dam's full generation capacity. The facility, operated by the Volta River Authority, is a critical component of Ghana's energy mix and plays a central role in the national electricity supply. The restoration follows a recent technical challenges that had affected output, raised concerns about power stability across the country. According to officials, extensive repair works, system checks, and safety assessment were all conducted to ensure the turbines are operating efficiently and reliably reliably. Energy experts says the development is expected to significantly improve power supply and reduce the risk of outages, particularly during the peak demand period. Government have reiterated its commitment to strengthening the energy infrastructure, ensuring long-term reliability in electricity generation. The full return of the Akosombo Dam is being seen as a positive step towards stabilizing Ghana's power.
I know many of you are concerned about the disruptions to the electricity supply caused by the Akosombo fire. But I want to share the good news that the GRIDCO and VRA engineers working together have been able to bypass the burnt-out control room and have restarted all the 6 turbines at the Akosombo generating station. And so as of last night, the Akosombo hydroelectric dam is fully operational. I wish to use this occasion to celebrate the engineers of GRIDCO and VRA for the hard work and ingenuity they put into restoring the hydro plant to full operation. These engineers are a living testament to the fact that Ghanaian workers are the nation's most valuable asset. GRIDCO and VALCO, are you here? GRIDCO and VALCO workers, are you here? Aiko.
And with that from the president, we move straight away to the business desk. Is still live on the news review, come to you from our studios on the 10th Avenue Extension, Greater Estate, Nungwa, Adugono. We also live across all our social media handles. The Minister of Energy, John Abdullahi Jinapor, says Ghana's power sector remains resilient despite the recent operational setbacks and technical challenges affecting electricity distribution across the country. Ghana's investment report.
Speaking at the Government Accountability Series in Accra on Monday, April 27, the minister addressed recent developments in the energy sector, including disruptions linked to infrastructure failures and leadership changes within key power institutions. He explained that the second challenge relates to long-standing technical difficulties within the power distribution system, including aging infrastructure. His remarks come in the wake of growing public concern over stability in electricity supply following incidents such as the fire at the Akosombo Power Control Center and recent management changes within the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, in the Ashanti region. The briefing also follows his directive for the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Grid Company, GRIDCO, to step aside to allow investigations into the Akosombo incident, which caused disruptions to parts of the national grid and triggered power outages in several regions. Despite these challenges, Mr. Jinapor maintained that the overall direction of the sector remains positive. He assured that the government is committed to addressing the issues confronting the sector and restoring full stability.
To address the situation. And we have since been doing that right from the day I visited the plant and all the periodic updates that we've been providing. Let me also state clearly that disasters of this nature are neither predictable nor entirely preventable. And even in advanced countries, sometimes they face challenges. However, what remains within our control is the speed, the coordination, the honesty, and the determination with which we respond to these challenges. In our attempt to swiftly restore power, safety would remain paramount. The safety of the engineers is very, very critical. We can't afford to lose even one soul or sustain any injury. And so this work ought to be done diligently, meticulously, in accordance with safety standards. We would move with alacrity, we will move swiftly, but we will not seek to cut corners. To get to the root cause of this incident, as Minister for the sector, I've constituted a technical team chaired by the Venerable Engineer Williams Amuna to conduct a thorough and independent investigation into the incident. They will focus on the technical issues and come out with a report in 2 weeks.
From the energy sector, we go to look at the economy, where Ghana Cedi extended its depreciation trend over the past 2 weeks, but with notable minor swings.
The local currency recorded volatility of approximately 0.5% compared to a historical weekly average of approximately 2.1%. In the interbank market, the Ghana Cedi weakened by 0.54% to a mid-rate of 11 cedis 09 pesos against the dollar, while the pound and euro declined by 0.95% and 0.47% to 14 cedis 99 pesos and 12 cedis 99 pesos respectively. The retail rates mirrored, with these steeper drops of 2.10% depreciation of the cedi to dollar to trade at 11 cedis 93 pesos. The cedi also depreciated by 2.50% against the pound to sell at 15 cedis 78 pesos, while the euro depreciated by 3.09% against the cedi to trade at 13 cedis 78 pesos. Since the beginning of the year, the cedi has lost approximately 2.55% of its value against the American greenback, with a month-on-month depreciation of 0.79% between March 2026 and April 2026. Broadly in line with its earlier view, Data Bank Research said the mounting import demand continues to weigh on the cedi as traders restock ahead of mid-year consumer demand. It added that the sentiment should improve in the second week if the IMF staff mission concludes positively, potentially unlocking about $385 million subject to IMF board approval. Meanwhile, the cedi began this week going for 11 cedis 85 pesos to the US dollar at the Forex Bureau.
Now, away from the economy, we're still with the business desk. The Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, has called for a stronger investment in value addition, sustainability, and regional collaboration in African share industry, as the Global Share Alliance marked its 15th anniversary at the opening of the Share 2026 conference in Accra, Ghana.
Addressing conference participants, the Vice President said the share sector remains a critical source of livelihoods for millions of people across Africa, particularly women engaged in share collection and processing. She noted that the Global Share Alliance has expanded significantly since its inauguration in 2011 by the then Vice President John Mahama, growing from 48 members to more than 900 members worldwide. The Vice President stressed that Africa must move beyond the export of raw share kernels and focus on processing and industrialization to capture more value from the industry. Professor Opoku-Agyeman also highlighted the environmental importance of share parklands, describing them as vital ecosystems that support biodiversity, improve soil fertility, and strengthen climate resilience across the SAB region. She further called for greater economic empowerment for women who dominate the share value chain.
Just as important is recognizing the central role of women in this sector. You didn't hear that one. Women dominate the value chain from kernel collection to primary processing, and their work supports families and communities across Ghana. But the women need to benefit more from the value. Addressing this imbalance is not only a matter of equity. It is essential to improving productivity, raising incomes, and ensuring the sector's long-term sustainability.
Now to the banking system, where Ghana's banking sector has been hit by a staggering 394 million Ghana cedis in losses, raising fresh concerns about asset quality, risk management, and the stability of financial institutions.
Ghana's banking industry is under renewed pressure following reports of significant financial losses totaling 394 million cedis. The development has triggered concern among regulators and market watchers, with the Bank of Ghana closely monitoring the situation. Industry analysts point to rising non-performing loans, increased cost of operations, and lingering effects of recent economic challenges as key drivers behind the losses. Some banks are also said to be dealing with exposure to high-risk sectors, further weakening their balance sheets. The Ghana Association of Bankers has acknowledged the challenges but insists the sector remains resilient, citing ongoing reforms and improved capitals buffers introduced in recent years. Meanwhile, financial experts are urging stricter control, enhanced corporate governance, and more prudent lending practices to prevent further deterioration. Customers are also being advised to remain calm as authorities assure that deposits remain protected under existing regulatory frameworks. The central bank has indicated it will not hesitate to take corrective actions where necessary, including sanctions against institutions that fail to meet prudential requirements. As situations unfold, attention is now focused on how quickly the sector can recover and restore confidence in Ghana's financial system.
From the banking sector to the Minister for Finance, Dr. Keselata Forson has emphasized that building a strong tax culture remains central to Ghana's long-term economic stability and growth.
Ghana's Finance Minister Ato Forson says strengthening tax compliance and widening the national tax base are critical to ensuring sustainable economic stability. He made the remarks while outlining government's broader fiscal strategy aimed at boosting domestic revenue mobilization and reducing over-reliance on external borrowing. According to him, a strong tax culture is not only about enforcement, but also about trust, transparency, and ensuring that citizens are valued in the taxes they pay through development outcomes. The minister stressed that ongoing reforms within the revenue system are designed to improve efficiency, close leakages, and enhance digital tax administration. He also appealed to businesses and individuals to comply fully with tax obligations, noting that national development depends heavily on collective contribution. Economic analysts say improving tax culture could help stabilize public finances, support infrastructure development, and create room for social investments in key sectors such as education and health. However, concerns remain among some taxpayers about multiple levies and cost of living pressures, with calls for governments to balance revenue generation with economic relief measures. The Finance Ministry insists that reforms will continue in a way that promotes fairness, accountability, and economic resilience.
Away from the business desk, we're turning our attention to the international front. But if you just join us, you're live on the News Reviews segment that comes your way every Saturday from 12 noon. And we're live across our social media handle on MBN 360. After a weekend of coordinated attack across Mali by separatist fighters and Islamist militant, Russian forces who are in the country helping protect the military government have confirmed they have pulled out of the northern city of Kidal.
In a series of social media posts, Russia's Africa Corps said they had left the locality along with Malian troops. The separatist Azawad Liberation Front group said on Sunday the Russian troops had agreed to withdraw permanently and claimed control of Kidal, declaring it now free. Mali has faced insurgencies for years from the separatists in the north and groups affiliated with the Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group. On Saturday, explosions and sustained gunfire were reported in multiple parts of Mali, including the capital, Bamako. Attacks were also reported in the central cities of Sévaré and Mopti, as well as Gao and Kidal in the north on the southern fringes of the Sahara Desert, in Kati, a town near the capital and home to a majority military base. Malian Defense Minister Sadio Camara was killed in an apparent suicide track bombing on his residence. Reports suggest the assault by the FLA, who seek a breakaway state for northern areas dominated by ethnic Tuaregs, was primarily focused on cities in the region, while the jihadist group Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslim had staged simultaneous attacks in multiple areas. The Alliance of Sahel States, comprising Mali and the neighboring countries of Burkina Faso and Niger, also led by the military, said the attacks were a monstrous plot backed by the enemies of the liberation of the Sahel, but did not go into any further detail. Fighting resumed in Kadal on Sunday, but shortly afterwards, FLA spokesman Mohamed El Malaud Ramadani said an agreement had been reached between them and the Russian Africa Corps with a view to ensuring their secure withdrawal from the fighting.
Away from Mali, we head to Kenya, where Kenya's President William Ruto has been forced to respond to a backlash over his recent remarks suggesting Nigerian accent English were incomprehensible.
His clarification came at a mining conference in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, attended by Nigeria's Minerals Minister, Henry Dele Alake, who told the gathering, President Ruto, "The people of Nigeria have mandated me to inform and assure you that Nigerians speak good English." Too much laughter. Ruto took to the stage to explain his comments to Kenyans living in Italy last week were intended to be private and had been taken out of context. The fact is that I was talking about how we in Africa speak very good English. All of us, he said. In fact, in some countries like Nigeria, if you do not speak excellent English like the one we speak in Kenya, you may need a translator to understand the excellent English of Nigeria. So that was the comparison, but somebody misrepresented the facts. President Ruto reminded the audience at the Mining Development Conference that Nigerians were his in-laws. One of his daughters, June, is married to a Nigerian. He told Alake to pass on his greetings to his Nigerian counterpart, Bola Tinubu. Tell President Tinubu that I said hi, and tell him I said that in good English so that there will be no consequences. Following an explanation about how he felt he had been misrepresented, the president ended by saying, "It is as well that we can have this conversation. My in-laws, I hope there will be no consequences for whatever was done," he said. The good-natured banter was in sharp contrast to barrage of criticism President Ruto has faced online. Last week, he had boasted about how Kenya's education system was producing some of the best human capital in the world with strong English proficiency. Kenya and Nigeria are both former British colonies and share English as an official language, but have distinct spoken varieties with different phonetic structures. These differences reflect the influence of indigenous languages. Nigeria has more than 500 languages which shape its cadence and intonation, while Kenya's Bantu, Nilotic and Cushitic mix give rise to its own accents.
Away from Kenya's president backtrack, we go to Zimbabwe, where the youngest son of Zimbabwe late former leader Robert Mugabe is to be deported from South Africa immediately, a court in Johannesburg has ordered.
Bellarmine Mugabe pleaded guilty to pointing a firearm and illegally being in the country earlier this month after he was arrested following the shooting of a 23-year-old man at his home. 28-year-old has also been ordered to pay a fine of $36,000. His co-accused and cousin, Tobias Matonhoji, who pleaded guilty to attempted murder, illegal immigration, possession of ammunition, and defeating the ends of justice, was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Both men were arrested on 19 February when police were called to Mugabe's home in the upmarket Johannesburg suburb of Hyde Park. A man who worked at the premises was taken to hospital in a critical condition after he was shot. Prosecutors previously told the court that the shooting followed a row between the three men inside the property and that the victim was shot twice in the back outside as he tried to flee. The authorities have yet to find the gun. Mugabe was also previously charged with attempted murder, but after Motonoji pleaded guilty, the charge was dropped. The charge of pointing a gun relates to a separate and related incident, but Mugabe agreed to have the two cases head together, the National Prosecuting Authority, NPA, told the BBC earlier this month.
Away from South Africa, we go straight to the Western world as British authorities have declared a terrorist incident following a stabbing of two Jewish men in London, prompting a major security and response on ongoing counter-terrorism investigation.
Authorities in the United Kingdom has confirmed a terrorist designation after two Jewish men were stabbed in a targeted attack in London. The Metropolitan Police says specialist counter-terrorism officers have taken over the investigation as they work to establish the motive and circumstances behind the incident. The attack, which occurred in a busy area of London, has raised concern among community leaders and security officials, particularly within the city Jewish community. Police have increased patrols in key neighborhoods and around places of worship as a precautionary measure, while urging the public to remain alert and report any suspicious activity. Officials say the victims are receiving medical treatment, while the suspect is either in custody or being actively pursued, depending on evolving developments in the investigation. The UK government has condemned the attack, describing it as deeply concerning, with assurances that hate crimes and extremist-related violence will be dealt with firmly under the law. Security analysts say the incident is likely to intensify debates around community protection, counter-terrorism strategy, and rising concerns over targeted violence in major Europe cities. Further updates are expected as investigators continue to piece together the events leading to the attack.
And still in London, a man has appeared before a court in London charged with attempted murder of two Jewish men following a violent stabbing incident that authorities are treating with heightened concern.
A suspect has been formally charged and brought before court in connection with the stabbing of two Jewish men in London. Prosecutors say the accused faces 2 counts of attempted murder after the victims were attacked in what investigators believe may have been a targeted incident. The case has been handled with input from the Metropolitan Police Service, including counter-terrorism officers who are assessing whether the attack was motivated by extremism or hate. During the court appearance, the suspect was remanded into custody as proceedings continue, with further hearings expected in the coming days. The victims are reported to be receiving medical treatment, while community leaders have expressed concern over the nature of the attack. Authorities say security has been increased in affected areas as a precaution, while investigations continue to establish the full circumstances surrounding the incident. The case has renewed attention on issues of community safety, hate crime, and the need for vigilance in major urban centers.
And that's it for this weekend edition of the News Review, live and direct from our studios here on the 10th Avenue Extension, Greater Estate. The news was also live across all our social media handles on MBN 316. I want to say a big thank you to all my technical team, production team. It's been a wonderful time being with you. Do have a good afternoon and enjoy the rest of our program.